What up, gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice and Dragons, we are going to be covering the Kickstarter exclusive box for Saban's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid, published by Renegade Game Studios and designed by Jonathan Yang. Now, with the arrival of Power Rangers Zeo, it gave us a perfect chance to dive in and play against some of the other villains, take out some more Rangers, and try out some crazy combinations. So that being said, Julie's now going to tell you more about the game itself.
So it's a cooperative 2 to 5 player game, 2 to 6 player if you have a special expansion, right?
Yes, well, many different expansions, not a special expansion.
Okay, well, an expansion. They can bring you to 6, but otherwise it's 2 to 5, 14 and above, plays about 45 to 60 minutes.
The game can definitely be played with, I think, much younger than 14.
I'd say 12. You're going to say younger than that, but we always disagree on that.
Yes, we do disagree on that, but I think we can agree it's definitely playable at younger than 14.
Yes.
The age is clearly for some of the smaller components and the miniatures that are in the game. So for those of you that are watching this, you've kind of skipped ahead, I will be popping up a link. Well, YouTube will be doing it. Will you popping up right over there? It'll take you back to a review on how to play of Saban's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid, because this box really does not work at all without the base game. Now, what do you do in this game? Well, you have your command center. It can be one of two, depending on the expansions that you have. You have a board that is around the command center, and you're going to be fighting off the enemies that are assaulting Angel Grove, the Putty Patrollers, the Henchmen, the Foot Soldiers, and then also the monsters, as well as a boss that is trying to take over the world. Now, you think I missed anything at all, Julie?
No, I think you got it.
So that being said, what time is it?
It's time to grab our drinks.
That's what time it is. Well, I guess it'll be the other time afterwards. Grab our best friend.
We're going to take it to the table.
Take it to the table. Got to remember, it's Power Rangers, so it's not time to grab your best friend. It's Morphin' time!
That's why I let him say it.
You got to do it next time. Yes.
No.
Now we're going to take a look at the components for Saban's Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid, the Kickstarter exclusives. What we're going to do is start with the Rangers, then we'll take a look at the villains that we have over here, and then we'll take a look at the new areas that we get. So let's start with all of these hero cards. Well, some of them are just new cards, extras that we got in the box. They're not actually new characters. So here we do have Lauren Shiba, Super Samurai Red, whose ability gives her an extra energy. Well, she regenerates an energy if she has none at the end of each battle. We have the Rebel Ranger Slayer, Kimberly Ann Hart, whose ability is Finishing Shot. So after you finish all of the cards in the combat sequence, meaning they've all resolved, she can do 1 damage to any enemy. We have Tommy Oliver, Mighty Morphin White, with Guardian Light. Once per battle, you can increase the shields on a Ranger's defensive card. We have, of course, Tommy Oliver once again as Mighty Morphin Green with the Loner ability, which means if he's by himself, you get to add 1 die to each of your attacks. It's very powerful, trust me. We also have Jason Lee Scott, Mighty Morphin Red with the Dragon Shield. So his ability is Legacy of the Dragon. He does get 2 more cards that are then added to his deck. So he gets the Dragon Dagger card and the Dragon Shield card, which are identical to the Green Rangers cards. Now, we also get some alternate Rangers for the ones in the base game. That's why you have no minis for them here. We only got the cards, no miniatures. So we got Aisha Campbell, who once per battle, after you defeat an enemy card, will gain an energy. Rocky DeSantos, Mighty Morphin Red. When you reveal a card for defense, if we go to the bottom of your deck, it can go to your hand. Adam Park, who is adaptable. So once per battle, you can swap a card from your hand with the top card of your discard pile. Kat Hillard, Mighty Morphin Pink. When you suffer damage before revealing a card for defense, you may look at the top 2 cards and pick 1. Now, these next cards that we're going to get are just sort of these matte cartoon finishes for the standard characters from the original game. So you got Jason, Trini. I actually have 2 of them because that card was damaged. We got Tommy Oliver, Kimberly Ann Hart, Zach Taylor, and Billy Cranston. Now, as you notice, you only have those for the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. We also get some new Zords, of course, as we've got new Rangers. We've got the Dragon Zord, which when you exhaust this card, any excess damage from an attack can go to another card. We have the White Tiger Zord, which lets you play a zero-cost card after a Ranger plays a maneuver. The Grave Zord, which is pretty cool because it replicates the ability of any other Zord that has been summoned. Then we've got the Bull Zord, and you exhaust this card when any Ranger plays a card to reduce that card's energy cost by 1 and add 1 die to the attack. This is a really strong Zord. Now we also have Alpha 5 with his rules as a supportive AI player, meaning he's hanging out in the command center and supporting the team. You also have him as the loyal robot, and as a loyal robot, that means that a player will be managing Alpha 5 instead of him just hanging out in the command center. So there you have it. These are the cards that you get, and we'll just put Alpha back the way he was. These are the cards that you get for your Rangers and support characters in the Kickstarter exclusives. Now, many of you may be noticing the cards are sleeved. We've been playing the game for a while. We've had it for a while, so everything has already been protected. Now let's take a look at the Ranger miniatures themselves. So here we've got Lauren Shiba, Super Samurai Red. Very cool. I'd like to see the other Samurai Rangers, although I do prefer the Japanese version, Shinkanger. I don't know, the theme just works better for me, actually being in Japan. Jason Lee Scott, Mighty Morphin Red with Legacy of the Dragon. Pretty cool. I love the look of this mini. We've got Tommy Oliver, Mighty Morphin Green, with that classic pose playing the Dragon Dagger. Our Rebel Ranger Slayer, Kimberly Ann Hart, looking badass. Then, of course, we've got Mighty Morphin White, Tommy Oliver, the White Ranger, and who did not enjoy him coming back. And, of course, Alpha 5, our loyal robot sidekick. Now, before we go on to the enemies, we'll finish up with the Rangers and just take a quick look at some of their cards. So as you can see with Alpha, they're all support cards, different maneuvers that you can do, reactions that will let you recover. Now you get to add these to your deck when you make recover actions, if you recover less than 6 shields. Now when you're taking a look at the Ranger Slayer, she's got a reaction that lets you shoot an enemy card. Piercing Shot to take out multiple enemies. Basically, she's just a badass high damage character. Especially with the Bow of Darkness, you'll see just straight up 5 damage. Here we've got Lauren Shiba, who's got attacks like Burnout, so you may actually take 1 die and apply it to another enemy card. Strafe Burst, for each 0 you rolled, you get to damage other characters. The Spin Sword, before rolling it, you may spend any amount of energy to boost the attack, which is pretty cool. The Black Box, which will let you deal double damage. And Discipline, which will let Rangers re-roll their dice, which I think is just awesome. So we've got the Green Rangers, you can see with the Dragon Shield, Dragon Rush, Dagger Solo, Solo Strike. So we actually have 2 versions of Solo Strike because we did get the replacement cards. So the current standard one is you may reroll any number of dice with this attack. The original one said that you may remove 1 die from the attack if you do return this card to your hand instead of discarding it after this attack resolves. Actually, I think I'm mistaken. I think this is the new one that was produced in the errata. Kind of like the old one, to be honest. Now with the White Ranger, we've got Sabbath Slash. So this one lets you divide the damage up between any enemy targets. Fainting Slash, which means if you roll only 0s, you get it back. Sabbath's Eye Beams. Flash Kick, which lets you go first, even if an enemy played fast. Guardian Armor for some defense. Now you notice the 2 Dragon Shield cards, the 2 Red Ranger cards for Jason aren't in here. I neglected to put them in. They're in his standard deck. So the cards would be a Dragon Shield, such as this one, and the Dragon Dagger, which is a 3-die attack, which lets you perform the attack twice. Those 2 cards are added to the Red Ranger standard deck. So now you've taken a look at the heroes. Let's take a look at the villains. So we'll start by taking a look at Primator. So here is his miniature. Pretty cool. Definitely looks exactly like he did from the show. We also have RoboGoat right here. And plenty of detail on there. Not like the finest detail, but still perfect for these big monsters that were essentially rubber suits. They may be wondering why I showed you both. Well, just to make room, I had to stack both of their cards on top of each other. So with Primator, just like in the show, you can mimic. He's got some nasty guard cards. He's got some fast cards where he'll hit hard right away. Then look at Robogoat, he can do multiple damage. He's got some fast cards which will drain some energy, which will deal damage unless you discard energy to prevent it. So fairly challenging enemies. Next, we've got Finster. So when you take a look at Finster, well, he's got some nice detail on there. It still seems to be pretty tricky to paint. It's not as refined as something from, say, Saban Games or Awaken Realms, but still good quality. Well, his ability is actually summon, and I'll try to find the summoning one. You have to deploy 2 putty patrols in the location. So he summons his putties. He deals damage based on the putties. And he can also deal damage to different rangers, which is fairly challenging. And since my hands are right here, quickly just showcase these exclusives that we got, a lead ranger token and the upgraded energy tokens. So we'll continue going through the monsters, then we'll hit the bosses. So we got the Evil Green Ranger. So of course the Sword of Darkness, deal damage to the lead ranger. Roll 4 dice and deal that much damage to 2 different rangers. So as you can see, just like in the Mighty Morphin, you don't want to mess with the Green Ranger. He's got his own version of Dragon Rush, which deal that much damage to the lead ranger, and that's 6 dice, and then 2 dice to another ranger. Definitely a challenging opponent, depending on the cards that come up. Now you've got Pumpkin Rapper, who is definitely one of the more famous villains, as you can see. He's got a guard and passive. This one is annoying and makes you spend more energy. Fast card, which lets him hit multiple rangers. So overall, a challenge. Now let's take a look at their minis. So here we've got Pumpkin Rapper. A lot of nice detail for this mini with the lines, and you can definitely replicate his suit. And of course, the Evil Green Ranger wielding the Sword of Darkness. And just to give you a nice contrast. I don't know, I might honestly, if I ever learn how to paint, I'd probably paint the Green Ranger and just use this mini because, I don't know, I just like it more. I like the idea of Tommy wielding the dagger and the sword. Next, we've got High Guy. So another standout from MMPR. His abilities are deal 4 damage to the rangers with the fewest cards in their deck. That's really annoying. 2 damage to each ranger twice. Now his guard and passive ability here as well. This card is in play each time a ranger deals damage to this card, reduce it to 1. The Scattered Visage was just an absolute nightmare to beat. It was made him probably one of the more difficult enemies in this Kickstarter exclusive box. Next we got Rhino Blaster, who's got some charging attacks, lots of fast attacks that will deal some damage. Also cards with guard, and then the Rangers must discard a total of 4 cards divided as they choose, which can potentially spell the end of a Ranger depending on how many players you're playing with. Oh, and he just tried to fell over. Well, the Rangers haven't defeated you yet, Rhino Blaster. So there's his mini. Not as much detail as the others, but still looks good, and glad to have him in the game. Now, as we're just moving across, I will take a look at these guys. So we do get 2 new types of foot soldiers, the Tango Warriors and the Z Putty Patrollers, because of course Lord Zed is now in the game. So to use these characters, you will need to use the new locations, of which we'll show you in just a second. They are the Shopping Mall, which relates to the Tango Warriors, the Dockyard, which is for the Z Putty Patrollers, the Power Plant, which is for the Z Putty Patrollers, and the Stone Quarry, which is for the Tango Warriors. Now, of course, we also get, and I'll just flash them at you all quickly, the spawning cards for the bosses and the monsters. It's not really too much special there. So just make sure everything stays on camera. Let's take a look at these bosses, and then we're going to get to our review of this box of exclusives. So here we got the Wizard of Deception. Pretty cool, like the wand. He was definitely a challenging foe for the Rangers. It's also difficult when we faced him, but surprisingly enough, we tried out Balkan Skull, which you can definitely find on our channel either now or in the future, and they were surprisingly fun. This passive ability right here is very annoying. When you defeat a card, you got to discard 2 from your deck. He's got fast. Each ranger must draw 2 cards and then discard 2 random cards. Makes it very difficult to defeat him in one turn. So you might have to deal with a second enemy spawn. Next, we've got Lord Zed, who is probably the hardest of them all. Deal 12 damage divided amongst rangers as they choose. Fast. Deal damage to each ranger, so everyone equal the number of cards in their hand, meaning they can take up to 5 damage at the start of the fight. Very challenging to defeat him in just one go. So Cruel Strike, 1 ranger must discard the top 3 cards of their deck. Yeah, he's not fun. Let's take a look at the mini in that classic pose in that suit from, well, it was a suit, but love the look of the character. Probably definitely one of the most iconic original creations for the show. Next, we've got Goldar, who is the man. I love the fact that we've got Goldar with his wings. It's just like the classic look for him. He's got his sword, and he is basically the main nemesis besides Rita and Zed. Also very challenging. Heat beams 4 damage to each ranger. Fast deals 6 damage to a lead ranger. Guard card that also deals 5 damage to 2 different rangers. So he's not messing around. Then lastly, probably the biggest nemesis for Tommy. We've got, hit Jason there. We've got Scorpina. And this mini is a little disappointing when there's not as much detail as I'd like to see. Not that her costume had too much detail there. Now we take a look. Fast deals 5 damage to 2 different rangers. Deal 4 damage and drain. And it's fast and guard. At least it's going to go to the front of the pack. Fast deal 5 damage plus skip the next ranger in turn. So as you can see, she is not to be taken lightly. There you have it. You've seen all of the content that is coming in the Kickstarter exclusive box, except for our new zones. So we're going to just move our rangers off camera. Take a look at the 4 new areas. Stone Quarry, which panics at 7. The Dockyard, which panics at 5. The Shopping Mall, which panics at 4. And the Power Plant, which panics at 6. Now that being said, I'm going to teleport out of here and come back at you with Julie, and we're going to give you our review of the game. And quickly, it's back to action because I neglected to showcase the new Foot Soldier cards for the Kickstarter exclusives. So you can see the back of them, the Tango Warrior cards. There's 10 of them, as with the Z Putty Patrollers. We'll take a look at them quickly. So you got the Z Shield with guard that will drain 2 energy, 4 damage from the Fierce Strike. Also the Self-Destruct, meaning if you defeat any Z Putty Patroller cards, they will deal 2 damage. So as you can see, all around annoying. And here we've got the Piercing Screech from the Tango Warriors, which means that each ranger must discard 1 card from their hand. They can fly away, meaning you'll have to move 1 Tango Warrior from this location to the next location that's not panicked. They've got Deadly Talons, which means they're fast and they deal 3 damage. They can also swarm you, deal 1 damage, and increase it by 1 for each foot soldier in the location. Oof. Not a pleasant group of enemies. So there you have it. Now we've done it. We've covered all of the content that is in the Kickstarter exclusive box. And Julie and I will be coming back at you because I'm teleporting back over with our review of the game. So Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid, the Kickstarter exclusive expansion box. What did you think of it?
I feel like they're multiplying. You keep bringing more Power Rangers to the table.
Yeah, so we've had this for a while and we've played with some of the content in the box. We just didn't really dive into all of the content that was in here with the different foot soldiers, the bosses, the monsters.
Yeah, there were some pretty, those eagle-looking ones, the monsters.
The Tango Warriors.
Yeah, they look mighty.
They were mighty annoying as well.
Yeah, they kept flying away. That was annoying. So that was fun. I mean, the Putty Patrollers, nothing special.
No, they were a little bit harder than the standard putties, but not as hard as the super putties, I would say.
No. I mean, I can't remember most of the names of the guys, the monsters that we played, although I have to say that I remember Eye Guy because he was just gross.
And very, very annoying. He's probably one of the stronger ones that we faced in the box.
Maybe that's why I remembered him more too.
Yes, he had a lot of guard and passive abilities that boosted other things. That was just not fun to play against.
I have to say, probably the most fun I had with this was discovering the new Pink Ranger that I got to play with, because she was pretty powerful.
The unmorphed Ranger Slayer version of Kimberly Hart, yes. She was very cool. You also enjoyed getting to try out Super Samurai Red, who I played as well. Lauren, she was pretty cool
I think
as well.
I had more fun with green Tommy, I think it was, in loner mode.
She always let me play Tommy. She's like, I don't want to play the Green Ranger. And then finally she played Tommy. She's like, oh, he's strong.
It was fun. I annihilated a couple different 4-group henchmen a couple of times. Jason's like, are you sure you want to try to? Yep. And I got them.
Yes, and with the nice second wave, which is Zeo, it also includes the Tommy pack. We do have 2 versions of the Green Ranger now. So we will. I don't know when we're going to get a review of the Tommy pack. I know the Zeo review is already out by the time this has been released. So maybe it'll all be combined together. Not quite sure how we're going to handle that yet. But in any case, continuing on, we'll have a lot of different versions of the Green Ranger to play with.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really had fun. I think the most fun I had was with the some of the abilities that Pink Ranger had. It was just a lot of fun, and made it fun to go after the different villains. Honestly, I'd have to say I don't know if it's because our team was a little bit overpowered, but I found this easier than the other times we've played.
Oh, I definitely think we found a kind of crazy OP combo. The Lauren Shiba with Loner Tommy, like Green Ranger Tommy, White Ranger Tommy with Saban Slash, also then having Jason's, because we were just playing with the Kickstarter exclusive stuff. So we had Jason as the Dragon Ranger, with him as having the powers of the Red and the Green Ranger. So having the Tyrannosaurus. We had a couple of times where I'm like rolling like 9 or 10 die, being able to just distribute the damage as we saw fit. And then also with some of the other abilities that came into play that just let us get those cards back rather easily. We definitely had some crazy six Ranger combos. And it's pretty fun. I mean, I'd like to take out the Hyperforce Rangers again, but as we saw, they didn't really work. We didn't love them as a team, but now that we finally really started mixing and matching, as before we like to play as like one specific Ranger team, it'd be cool to see how it all works out.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same game. It's just different monsters. You're just adding a little bit of variety, right? Different monsters, different abilities on the Rangers, and yeah.
And that's where I'd say that most of the value comes in this box. As much as I say I do enjoy the other Rangers, the fact that you can now pick up expansions for the Green and White Ranger, you're really only getting 3 new Rangers that are completely different than what is out there in retail. Now, this is supposed to be available again sometime when the next Kickstarter runs. So the next Kickstarter is called Rise of the Psycho Rangers. It's been delayed. Don't know when it will be coming out, but you should definitely check that out. Or afterwards, these boxes should be available potentially again on the Renegade Games website. So don't look for this in store, but what you're getting in this more so than anything else are the Z-Putty Patrollers, the Tango Warriors, which adds a lot of variety, and most importantly, the villains and the monsters. Right now, and I know it's something that they're trying to address with Rise of the Psycho Rangers, the base game does not have enough villain content, I would say. You can pick up the villain pack, which we'll be reviewing in the near future, that add 2 bosses and 2 monsters, but you still don't have any of the extra foot soldiers, which I think is something that if you're a big fan of the game or want to keep getting it to the table on a regular basis, I think it's a must.
I don't really have anything else to add.
The only thing that I will add that I think we both sort of, I think we both agreed with is that there were some Rangers that we did find disappointing included in the box. Not the ones that came with their own miniatures, but I was not a big fan of Adam Park, the new Black Ranger, Rocky, the new Red Ranger, and then you played.
No, but you haven't mentioned
Aisha
actually.
and Kat.
You haven't mentioned actually, and I don't know if it's in this one or not. So the other 2 players that you were pleasantly surprised. Is this another expansion, or is this part of this expansion?
No, that's totally separate.
Okay,
Yes.
so for another review.
Yes, you'll see them in the near future, or depending on how the release schedule plays out. They might have shown up before this, so you may know exactly who Julie's talking about. If that's the case, there'll be a card that'll pop up. It's either going to be there, well, it'll be there eventually at some point during the lifetime of this video. I think we've really covered everything about it, so I don't really think there's much negatives to this box. I think if you like the game, you're getting just more of what you like. And also, I think sort of refreshing the base game, which can, in my opinion, after maybe 5 or 6 plays, and that means like, playing it on a regular basis, not just playing it like, once a week, once a month, once a week's regular basis. I'd say like playing it like maybe twice a month, something like that. You'd be fine with just the base box, but the monsters, the villains, and everything, I think, are really if you're a fan of the game, they're a must-have.
You haven't, you do in a lot of times. What about cost for what you're getting? Does this make sense?
So it is pricey. It is actually pricier than the original game. Not by much. When you consider that in the base game, what you're getting is the 5 Rangers, and then you've got, it's 3 or 4 monsters, I'm drawing a blank, plus 1 boss. You can only fight Rita Repulsa. So in this Kickstarter exclusive boss, you're going to end up with Lord Zed, Scorpina, Goldar. So 3 new bosses. You've got about 6 monsters, 2 more foot soldier types. You've got alternate cards for 4 of the MMPR figures that you have, as well as 4 entirely new Rangers. So it's one of those things where I would say if you like the game and you're a fan of the game, then the value is definitely worth it. The other nice thing is you do get the white and green Ranger cards that have different abilities than the ones that are included in the now available Tommy expansion. So that means, if you really want to do some crazy stuff, like you can have, 2 Green Rangers, each with different abilities, and you'll have the cards to play both of them. So it's cool, and it's definitely well worth it for fans of the game. If you just like the game, the cost will probably turn you away from picking it up.
Given that this is Power Rangers and you've been itching to get this back to the table for us to be able to do this review, why don't you give your rating?
I give this an 8. It's solid expansion. This is the main reason why I backed the game on Kickstarter. There was a big kerfuffle about getting access to the stretch goals when it came out, and Renegade did a lot of good by the fans, and I think that just the fact that they're still producing content for this game and doing more Kickstarters is just showing how they really respect the fans and have grown this game, and the system is just fun. And having more content in a system that I just really enjoy, a game that, to quote one of the much larger channel on their podcast, Shut Up and Sit Down, when they were just saying, hey, we're playing Power Rangers, and one of the things they said is like, oh, we're playing this goofy game, and then they were like, I played the game and I remember how I felt when I was a kid, I was younger, that Power Rangers was cool and this game is cool. And that's exactly what it does. It keeps it going and it makes the game better.
So I give it a 7, probably because it doesn't get boosted by the extra 1 because I'm not the huge fan that you are.
I think you gave it a higher rating before.
Oh, maybe it's a 7.5. It's a 7, 7.5. It's not an 8, that's for sure. Not in my...
I don't know. I might go back and check your review, and if she's wrong, you'll see something popping up around here saying, It was an 8! Now, she may be right, though. If she's right, nothing's showing up.
What I'm going to add to that is we've played a lot of games. And as I've said before, other games, the history of the games that we've played now since does have an impact on what score I give something. So this is fun. I enjoyed it. I'm not the Power Ranger fan than you are. So it doesn't give me that boost. Again, I can bring it up and say, if this was X-Files, it might be different. We might be in reversed roles.
Yes, unfortunately, X-Files does not have that many great games.
It's not a bad rating.
No, I'm just saying, I was just actually saying, unfortunately for you, your favorite franchise does not have that many great games. That's all I was saying. Yes. It's not like Star Wars or Star Trek or even Power Rangers have this awesome game. But
Turtles.
Yeah, Turtles is a really solid game that needs a little bit of tweaks to fix it up there. But it's still pretty fun.
So on that note, it's time to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when we have some new content for you. From what Jason's saying, there might already have been or might be new Power Rangers content. You'll just have to see.
Oh, there'll be new Power Rangers content. We got the Zeo expansion and so Season 2, the Tommy Pack, my favorite Ranger, which we definitely will have already talked about by the time this is released. The Gold Ranger is out, so good stuff. So you'll be seeing links popping up after I do my whole spiel right now. So don't forget that down below in the video description, you can find links to all of our social media feeds. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. There are tons of pictures of us playing Power Rangers, Heroes of the Grid, so you can get a good look as to what the game is like on the table. And then also, as I said, you should be seeing the 2 links popping up. One to our most recently released video. The other one will take you back to our review of Season 2 of Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid. So, with that being said, it's time to grab our drinks. And you got to say it.
No.
I didn't say grab our best friend. I was giving you time to say the other line instead.
No, you can say it. All I would say is go Power Rangers, which is,
Close enough. You got to do it with me then, okay? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Go Power Rangers!